Welcome to Legends in Leadership, brought to you by ISF and the Carrington Group. Legends in Leadership is an inspirational podcast featuring the stories of leaders who are making a difference. Our goal is to inspire you with the stories of leaders who come from humble beginnings, overcome challenges, and ultimately rise up to make a difference in people's lives.
Hello, good morning, folks. Welcome to Legends in Leadership. I'm your host for our episode 51 today.
Awesome.
Right?
Greatness.
My name is Kyle Watkins. I'm a family officer with the Carrington Group, and my co-hosts today are Dr. Blair Ritchie, Executive Director of ISF, and partners at Carrington Group, Tyler Tallman, Jason Smith. Morning, guys.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
51, we made it. We made it past the milestone 50
That's
last
right.
week. So
big time.
yeah, I know we got 50 to get to 100 for anybody to anything else to celebrate.
We're going to do it too.
I know we will.
Yeah. Guys, we've got a very impressive guest today. Very excited to hear the story. But every week, we always start off with a little leadership trivia. So, Dr. Blair, what do you got for us?
Well, today's legendary leader was a famous mayor. Since our guest is a famous mayor, I thought I'd keep with this mayor theme. In fact, he was the only mayor of a major city who would go on to become president of the United States, provided we consider Buffalo, New York, a major city. So they got
hope nobody from Buffalo, New York's listening.
But they got a football team, right? So it's bigger than South Bend, right? And they got a mayor running for president. So, all right. Well, anyhow, our legend was born into a preacher's family. At the age of 16, though, his father passed away, and so he left school to find a job to support his family. Unable to afford a college education, he worked as a teacher in a school for the blind, and then as a law clerk. He would go on to pass the New York State Bar and launch his own law firm at the age of 25. His political career began as a county sheriff, then mayor of Buffalo, then governor of New York, and by the age of 48, he was the president of the United States. He was a Democrat who wanted to reduce government spending. Imagine that. During his first term, he vetoed twice as many congressional bills as all 21 presidents before him combined. And he was the first president to host his own marriage ceremony in the White House when he married a 21-year-old Wells College student. He would lose his re-election bid, but returned to the White House 4 years later as the only president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. Who was this legendary leader? I'll be back at the close of the program with the answer.
We're not a political show, but that was the first political stab in
Pretty good,
51 episodes. So I'll tell you what.
Just threw that
Good
out
work.
there.
Good work.
I'm getting uncomfortable.
Oh, well, you teed it up, Dr. Ritchie. Our guest today is Mayor George Fuller. George has been a resident of McKinney for 25 years and elected mayor in May 2017. He's married to Maylee, his wife of 25 years, has 4 wonderful children, and is currently a builder and developer of custom homes and commercial properties with George C. Fuller Contracting. Mayor Fuller is the managing construction partner for Adriatica, a 46-acre mixed-use development in McKinney.
Beautiful place, by the way.
Nice.
Beautiful place.
His developed community infrastructures, retail shopping centers, condominiums, business centers, and some of the most award-winning and decorated homes in North Texas. Mayor Fuller has been honored with Builder of the Year award 9 years in a row by D Magazine, while also receiving honors from National Home Builders Association awards, including Best Craftsmanship, Best Overall Home, Best Floor Plan, and multiple People's Choice Awards. Mayor Fuller also owns the Guitar Sanctuary, which I think is super interesting, a high-end guitar and music equipment boutique, recently named one of the 20 coolest guitar shops.
Sweet.
In the country by Premier Guitar Magazine, along with the Sanctuary Music and Event Center and the Sanctuary Performance Academy. Mayor Fuller serves as president of the Stonebridge Ranch Commercial Association. He and his wife are co-founders of the Love Life Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to bringing awareness of the many tragedies inflicted upon children and identifying and supporting agencies and groups that bring relief and comfort to the young victims and their families. He is also a member of the McKinney Chamber of Commerce, Board of Directors, and Board Director for Meals on Wheels. He previously served as chairman of the McKinney Community Development Corporation. Mayor Fuller, glad to have you.
That's a lot of stuff.
Man,
I'm tired.
That's
He
a
seems
meat
bored.
sandwich. Man, that's a lot of good stuff, and really interested to dive off into a lot of that. But kind of start us off. What's maybe an early influence, or what put you on this path to this journey of success that you've obviously had?
My greatest influence in my life is my father, and I had he passed away back in '94, but I had a tremendous role model, a man that was passionate about life, had a tremendous work ethic, just an example for me to follow, and I recognized that as a young boy, and as I grew older. But yeah, he just taught me so much, and I'm able to look back, and anytime I'm in any kind of stressful situation or facing any adversity, I can think back to my father and advice that he gave me, and so to this day, he still is my greatest influence.
What's maybe a quality or two that just stands out to you personally, or just deep inside you that you got from him?
My father was extremely. He always pounded in me that you have to be a man of your word. You say something, people have to be able to count on that. And so just striving for that character and making sure that if I say it, I'm going to do it, or I'll die trying. And that's probably the single most influential thing. And I don't know, as I say that out loud, I of course in my mind I've got 50 other things that conflict with me and say,
Absolutely.
well, what about the other 50 great things that your dad? But truly, just being someone who absolutely did what they said, people could count on, being responsible, being accountable, and he really instilled that in all of us at a young age.
What did your dad do when you were growing up?
He was a builder and developer. He actually built huge developments and housing communities, mostly in New Jersey for quite some time, but also churches and synagogues and high-rise buildings. He was a builder in New Jersey.
So the tension of integrity in business you grew up with then. I mean, because there's always that pressure to how do you compromise? Do you compromise your integrity to make a buck or be successful?
Yeah, my father, that you never did that. That was, be transparent, be responsible, be accountable, be honest, ethical. That was how he operated his whole life, and again, truly inspirational for me.
Brothers and sisters?
I have 4 brothers and sisters.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got an older sister, and then a younger. So there's my sister Susan, then myself, then my sister Michelle, brother John, and sister Daniel. We're all like a year and a month or 2 apart. So mom was
busy.
Yeah, busy for 7, 8 years, I guess, 7 years.
That's really neat. Good stuff.
So from New Jersey, so what brought you down to Texas? How'd you get here? Tell us a little bit about that.
I moved right after college. I went to college in Vermont, and I moved to New York City. I took a job with a building owner. He had a building with industrial, just lofts, and he wanted to convert that building to working living lofts. So I started that. I was in '84, I guess, right after college, and it was very successful. We were developing some of the very first condominiums that were in that part of New York City in the design and garment district. Was going very, very well. But unfortunately, this is a guy that had a long history in tenant-landlord lawsuits. He was that guy that you'd see on the news that would turn the heat off in the winter.
Right.
Oh, no.
And yeah, it was terrible. And one night, one weekend, the elevator went down, and he lived in Palm Beach, Florida. And the elevator went down, yeah. And I called him and I said, hey, I tried calling the elevator company, Irving Elevator Company. I still remember to this day. And I said, you've got to call them and tell them to come out and fix it because they won't take my direction. And he had a few colorful words to say about how he would rather see all those people in the building walk. And of course, that wasn't how I would operate. So I started. I got a guy that worked for me, and we ran the freight elevator up and down the whole weekend. We were going to take people up and down. Well, he got wind of that, came up, and basically fired me and the other guy. And,
Wow.
And so I ended what I thought was going to be my career in development construction. It ended like that. a side note, he did get he was found guilty of.
You don't say.
Yeah. By the way, what happened? A woman had to climb the stairs after we were removed from running the elevator, and that morning at 2 a.m, she was climbing 8 flights of stairs and had a heart attack and died on the 5th floor. So, yeah, tragic thing. And but that ended that career for me there. And then I started opening automotive heating and cooling parts business. I went to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Roanoke, Virginia, and the third branch was going to be Dallas, Texas. And so I opened that up. Had trouble with the guy that I'd hired to manage it. So in 1986, I flew down to Dallas for 3 weeks, and here we are in 2019. And I either don't have a good sense of time,
or people are just a little bit more diplomatic here than where you came from.
I just ended up staying. I mean, I ended up running that branch myself, and from there got into everything from music. I play guitar, and that's how I met my wife, and started building. And here I am,
Nice.
all those years later.
Mm-hmm. With the influence of your father, did you know that you always kind of wanted to go into development construction?
Yeah, I think so. I loved, as a kid, going to work with my dad. I loved seeing something get built. My father was a real creative guy, so he, as I do, designed much of what he built, and so yeah, I was fascinated with that, and thought I would always follow in those footsteps. And as I said, right after college, that's what I was doing. I thought, man, I had a vision of this building we were going to finish, and there was 7 more that his family owned. This particular gentleman, and so I saw myself in New York City, for decades, but didn't work out that way.
Well, reading through your bio, there's something that stuck out to me. 9 years in a row, Builder of the Year award. So what is it that's made your company, the best, the most recognizable? Like, this is, high end of the high end. This is the best that's out there. What is it about your company that's been able to deliver that consistently?
I got to, of course, credit first the guys I have in the field.
Mm-hmm.
So in some of those years, it was me in the field. And I spend a lot of time in the field, but now my son, who is 30, Austin, he has taken over managing that. Toby Robinson, another great guy that works for me. So I've got real dedicated people, and my son is, follows the same ideals that I did and do. He's all about, it's got to be right. Everything's got to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even to a fault over me. He's the painter's worst nightmare when he goes in and what's called blue taping a house.
Yeah. Sounds like my wife.
Yeah, the whole house looks blue, and you can't find the paint under it. But real creative, people in the field that understand what the vision that we start with, and I think for me, as a guy that designs much of what I build, I have a real vested interest, not just in building it from a construction standpoint, but seeing a vision and a creative thing come to life. I always tell people that for me, I get to see a piece of dirt ultimately become a place where a family moves in and builds a home and starts a family. So I take a lot of pride in that, and it's motivating, and so I think we've just exercised good work ethic and craftsmanship and all that kind of thing.
And with, I think, that amount of consistency over time, there's got to be a culture in that company, and it's got to come from the top down. So can you talk about what type of culture that you guys have, or that you've instilled, and some of the leadership that you've wanted to develop in your company?
Yeah, for me, first and foremost, I try to impart the same things to my son that my father did with me, right? And the way that you win that award is not just the end product of what you build, but how do the people that you build for feel about you after the fact? And
right.
And yeah, it's crazy. I mean, there's I some of my absolute best friends are people that I built homes for, and I have become friends with many, if not, almost all of the people I've built for, and so we really make sure that we manage that rapport. But it's easy to do if you're going into a project with the right intention, and so as far as leadership, again, we do what we say we're going to do, and we deliver what we say we're going to deliver, and that's just been it's worked for us for many, many years. And we, as a builder, though, you don't control the weather,
right?
So you get into situations where, we had 6 weeks of rain one time. I don't know how many years ago that was, but 6 weeks it did not stop raining, and it's hard to keep on schedule. So how do you deal with that, and how do you communicate, and how do you bridge that for people, make sure they understand that we're not just home sleeping, playing video games, but it's the rain. We can't just frame in the rain. So, but just always doing what we say we're going to do. Mm-hmm. It's really, at the end of the day, we want to make sure we deliver what we say we're going to deliver, and when we say we're going to deliver it, and to the quality we promise to deliver it.
So talk about what inspired you to make a run for mayor in McKinney.
Aside from stupidity, from lack of judgment that day, I tell the story that truly I wasn't intending to run for mayor. I had a group of business associates and people that were very active in the community, and we, as McKinney is one of the fastest growing cities in the country, we felt there was a real need for somebody that understood growth, understood development, understood that aspect of what was happening within our community. And so we set out to find somebody to run. And we didn't have any success. And at every turn, they would say, "George, you got to do it." I was like, "I don't want to do it. You do it."
Right.
And the finger kept getting pointed back to me. And finally, one day, in a weak moment, I said, "I'll do it." And I remember, even when I said I was going to do it, I thought, certainly someone's going to pop up that's going to say they're going to run, and I'll be able to say, "You know what? I'm going to get behind them." So even when I first said I was going to do it, it was a soft, commitment. Mm-hmm. Really hoping that someone else stepped up, and not because certainly I love the idea of being in a position of facing challenges, and you have tremendous challenges in a city that's growing like McKinney is, and everything about it intrigued me. But I thought, I've got a number of businesses, and it's just not something I need to or I should devote attention to at this time. I would rather get behind somebody else. But once I made the decision, and it went from being a soft commitment to a real commitment, and I knew, gosh, it actually is going. No one else is going to that I can get behind, so I'm going to run. Then we were all in, and I say we because my wife was a tremendous part of that effort. We campaigned morning, noon, and night. I walked thousands of houses, and here we ended up in May of 2017 and won.
Talk about some of those.
Surprised us.
Yeah. Talk about some of those challenges that you're describing. I mean, McKinney is obviously at a great city, but it's amongst many other growing cities in this crazy metroplex that continues to move north. So talk about some of the challenges that you're facing and kind of what you've learned from that, because I know the political side of things is very different than the business side of things. So kind of compare and contrast those things for us.
So when I talk about that we wanted someone that understood development, one of the things that we felt, and I say we, a group of people, or a lot of people in McKinney, we had missed a lot of opportunities on commercial businesses and commercial development. And when you have a low percentage of commercial tax base and high percentage of residential tax base, that equals high property taxes for homeowners. So, just knowing that we were missing opportunities, and of course a lot of that was certainly just geographical, right? You have Frisco, Plano, right there at the tollway, and George Bush further south, but 121, the tollway. That is a magnet for corporations that need to be close to DFW Airport and really the center, right? You can get right down to downtown Dallas very quick. So we had those as challenges, but then we also, or I'll speak just for myself, I felt that maybe we didn't have people that really understood the business side of things as much. Maybe that could be contributing, and so again, that's why we set out to find somebody with business acumen to run for mayor, and as I said, I ultimately ended up being that person. But really, just getting the challenges are fast growing, right? As I said, we're 6,500 to 7,000 people a year. So a lot of residential growth. Watching our commercial tax base go from 21 to 20 to 19% because residential is outpacing so much. So that was really the big and primary challenge that I wanted to get in and face. And we just implemented some policies and procedures. We hired some fantastic people with our Economic Development Corporation. We hired the best city manager in the country in Paul Grimes right before I was elected. We just put together a really great team. We've taken a little bit different approach on how we compete for businesses, and we've been successful. We had last year was the highest percentage of commercial growth in our city's history, of recorded, monitored history anyway. So, that was a big challenge and continues to be a big challenge. We're competing with all those other cities that you talk about.
Kudos. A little brag on McKinney, since I have a business up there. It's in the course of that growth, still maintaining high quality of life and award-winning kinds of things. So well done on that front too.
Well, and I started my public service as a member of the McKinney Community Development Corporation, which deals with quality of life issues in McKinney. We take a 0.5 cent of the sales tax, which funds MCDC, and that amounts these days to about $15 million a year. And that money goes to parks and events and just things that make a community a quality place to live. So I did that for 5 years, ended up chairman of that board my last 2 years, I guess. To make sure that we nothing against Frisco, but the last thing McKinney wants to be is Frisco. Mm-hmm. We affectionately refer to Frisco as the concrete jungle. But some of my friends in Frisco will take offense to that, I guess. But
sure.
We don't want to be Frisco. We want to maintain who we are as a city and a community, but certainly having commercial tax base and conveniences, right? I mean, you have to hand it to Frisco and Plano for Legacy West and some of the things over in Frisco that they've done, that people enjoy that, and we want to make sure as a city that our residents don't get up and have to drive to Plano or Frisco or Allen, Shops and Allen, Waters Creek. All those types of developments are great developments, and so we're in pursuit of those ourselves now.
I'm intrigued too. We've got a president who's a businessman who approaches his job, I think, more like a businessman than a politician, and it gets him in all kind of trouble because he does that. But you're a businessman in a political sphere now. Talk about that in terms of the role of business in politics and how that the tensions that maybe some of that creates at a local level.
Yeah. Well, for me, what's a couple things I love about the position of mayor. First of all, it's a nonpartisan, so I really like that, because right now in such a divisive time in our country, partisan politics have become crippling, and to be able to lead and be part of leadership in a government that that doesn't have partisan allegiance, to me was very appealing. The fact that when I decided that I would run, I have no other political aspirations. Though I've been approached a lot lately for some other, to run for other positions at a state level, but that's just never been my goal. And even if it was, I'm a person that is just not going to play politics and politician. So I don't. God, if you watch any council meetings, you know that I don't worry about offending a political party. I'm going to do what I think is the right thing. And when you're not trying to climb a political ladder where it's critical to have partisan partnership, you can say and do almost anything. And that's enjoyable to me. So I'm all about what's best for the community and being able to put all that other stuff aside, and so I love it. So me being a business guy, I approach everything from that. What is there a creative way to do something that we're not doing? Is there a better way to do something? And I just don't worry about the politics of it at all. People tell me in some things I'll spearhead that, wow, you're not going to be able to get reelected if you do that. Well, that's okay. I think it's the right thing. And if at the end of the day, I shouldn't be reelected if I do things that people when they're done feels like it wasn't good for the community. So that's the check and balance of our system. But I have confidence in the team that we have, and like I said, our city manager and all that we're moving in the right direction. And I think we've got the community sees that and are behind us. So I love it.
So a total shift in gears. You do have a life outside of politics and business.
I do.
That's what you told me.
Okay.
Talk about the Guitar Sanctuary, and I think you've got a band that you play in and various things.
It's currently the Maylee Thomas Band. There is a petition that I've been circulating to change the name to the George Fuller Band. I got my signature, and the two people out in the field that work for me have signed it. But the Guitar Sanctuary is and I named it the Sanctuary very intentionally. It's just a great haven for musicians to come together and be part of this music community. We also have a performance academy. We have over 300 students. We've had actually a top 5 contestant on The Voice and a top 3 contestant on American Idol.
Wow,
nice.
Very impressive. That's awesome.
That have been in our school. So that's been great. And we have the Performance Center where we have concerts. It's an event center, so it's used for events and weddings and receptions. But I built it as part of or attached to the Guitar Sanctuary and the Performance Academy. So although we'll subsidize it with those other types of events, the passion and soul of that place is students performing. So we'll have kids that are learning to play an instrument or sing or piano or whatever it is they're doing. We'll hold these recitals and performances, and you get 25 kids on any given Saturday. We'll do groups on a Saturday, whatever day, and then you get all of their family and their extended family and their friends, and then you see that room 300 people that they get to perform in front of. It's something that they'll never forget. It's an experience that is a great one to have. So we very intentional about all the things we did there.
How often does your band perform?
Every week, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We last week we played. I think, we played 3 times last week.
Man.
We'll play around here. We'll play in Dallas. We play in Mexico, Colorado. We've been to Croatia and played, and we're actually talking about a trip to France as well with the band now.
All right, I've got some quick fire questions for George.
Yep.
All right, so best guitarist of all time.
There isn't one. They're all fantastic. I can't answer that because there's just so many great guitar
All right, give me
players.
a couple.
Stevie Ray, of course, Eric Clapton. Jimi Hendrix is a go-to because of the innovative, what he changed. But contemporarily, Andy Timmons is my favorite guitar player, and he's a guy that actually lives in McKinney and a masterful musician and master of melody. So he's actually my favorite guitar player. David Gilmour. You notice I didn't really mention any shredders. I'm into more melodic playing, though I can appreciate the Eddie Van Halens of the world that changed the landscape for guitar playing.
Favorite band of yours?
The Maylee Thomas Band because of the singer.
Best concert you've ever been to, besides your own?
Maylee Thomas Band concert. J.J. Gray and Mofro. I've seen huge shows, but it's a smaller concert. But J.J. Gray, if you don't know J.J. Gray and Mofro, what a soulful guy. Great band.
How do people get connected up with the Guitar Sanctuary?
GuitarSanctuary.com, and to that or on that site you can get links to all the events that we have and the concerts. And one thing I didn't talk about, the Love Life Foundation. So in the Guitar Sanctuary is a social purpose store. We have a section of that my wife does all the shopping and purchasing for, but clothes and jewelry. And on one hand, we call it the equalizer. So a person a spouse or partner of somebody coming into the guitar store that is interested in guitars, but the other one's not, they can shop.
Right.
And then we take the profits of that part of the store and we invest it into different programs with Love Life Foundation, which benefits at-risk women and children.
Music's such a great outlet for all ages, and hey, it's the one thing. Bipartisan, everybody loves music. So
yeah, nobody can tell me David Gilmour is he a Republican or Democrat, or Stevie Ray Vaughan.
That's right. It's pretty neat. It's one thing that kind of brings us all together. So
yeah, it sure does.
Yeah,
perfect. Mayor Fuller, it's been a pleasure to get to visit with you and learn more about you.
Thank you.
You've got a lot going on. Very cool. So I appreciate
you.
you taking time. It's not like you don't have anything else going on.
I very little. Bored. My life is bored.
Right. Well, Dr. Ritchie, what do you got for us?
Okay, guys, you got to take a stab at the
I've
mayor who became president.
I think if mayor's got to guess, I've got to guess.
You go first.
No.
No.
Well, he's a Democrat. He was New York, and he was governor twice.
President twice, yeah.
President twice,
right.
We don't know how old was he when he was elected? Can we tell?
48, young. Yeah.
First time.
First time. Yeah. For that.
Boy,
I think it's that.
What you got, Kyle?
No.
Grover Cleveland.
Yeah.
Man, he's a history buff.
He is
Kyle
a
is just-
I cannot stump him, man.
No.
That's right.
We've missed him the last couple of weeks.
The mayor of Buffalo's last name's Cleveland, right? Right. It's a Lake Erie thing. Yep.
Wow, look at you.
Grover Cleveland. You
Wow.
got it.
He wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah.
It's one of those. I mean, you memorize everything about presidents, and you can't get rid of it. Like
I did.
Yeah. I have actually had no problem.
Jason, I had no problem forgetting.
Well, folks, that's a wrap for us today from Legends in Leadership. I want to appreciate co-host and especially our guest today, Mayor George Fuller. And folks, remember, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader.
Legends in Leadership is brought to you by the Carrington Group. Carrington Group is a family office with a passion for helping business leaders and their families make smart choices and fulfill their highest aspirations. To learn more about the Carrington Group, visit their website at www.carringtonfo.com or Google Carrington Group, Dallas, Texas. ISF is committed to leadership development for aged-out foster care and orphaned youth. ISF's mission is to transform these youth into tomorrow's leaders with scholarships, mentoring, and leadership training. To learn more about ISF, visit their website at isfsite.org or Google International Student Foundation to learn more.
Securities offered through Regulus Advisors, LLC. Member FINRA/SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Regal Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors are affiliated entities. Carrington Group and this broadcast are independent of Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors.